I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Let me do a sound check for chat too. Did you guys hear Sam?
Hi, can everyone hear me? I'm saying words that you can tell.
Everyone's saying hi, so yes, so it seems like they can hear you. Yay! Thank you so much for taking the time to coach us. Or me.
Yeah.
Or them. I'm sorry if I'm really
Um,
nervous.
no problem. Do you want to send me some appropriate links in Discord
Okay.
here?
Yeah. Let me find I was just looking at it. So if I send this the deck, because there's like two or three games in particular with this deck that was like it felt awkward the whole time playing it, and I knew I wasn't doing things that were necessarily right. And there were times where I just knew I wasn't doing things right, but I didn't know why. So that's the
Okay.
deck,
So
and
I have this link pulled up. I'm going to share my screen with you.
okay.
Um, that's a lot of centuries. So let's see. Do you want to talk about the build or go straight into the games?
I'd like to talk about the build. That'd be cool.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna just pop this up on sealed deck because it's a little easier to manipulate the cards and stuff here. So cards that I would want to look at in the sideboard, fanatical strength most, maybe like a wrench. The rest of this doesn't look, unless you're gonna like splash torch the witness. It looks like I guess there's like the Hellion, but and you're already playing one of those. This looks like it was, it looks like you dabbled in some other colors and kind of ended, and you're already playing one strength. So it looks like you ended up kind of playing most of the cards that you had. Like you didn't have a lot of extra playables. Um,
Um, at one point, I like contemplated uh splashing for like a torch because like I didn't feel like I had enough removal, but I decided that wasn't.
yeah. So I mean, you have one escape tunnel and one nervous gardener,
Mm-hmm.
so you could certainly get away with it, but also like because four of your six two drops want like double colored symbols. Like it's pretty awkward if like you want to play an escape tunnel on one and then you want to like find your splash and then you can't cast your two drop because of it. So like the mountain seems like it'd be pretty hard to sequence a lot of the time. So it's probably not worth it for like one solid card when you could just play like an extra combat trick instead. Um, Given all like this is a lot of sentries. So
Is that
obviously with all
bad?
these sentries, is
Is
that
that
bad? No, sentries are great.
okay?
It's just that like given all the sentries, I like leaning into having a lot of morphs, which he certainly did. Um, I haven't personally. Rakish Scoundrel has been very expensive to flip for what it offers. Like
Yeah.
it's as much mana to like flip as Riftburst Hellion, and I found it like pretty awkward to like take a lot of advantage of its abilities. Given that you don't have the ability to cast it face up, I think the Hellion's better, especially with the ability to give it trample. And so I think I would just play another Hellion and another way to give it trample.
Okay.
And my considerations for what to cut are I'm looking at the Sanctuary Wall because you do have like enough two drops and like it's pretty mana intensive to use, which conflicts with how like morphs want a lot of mana.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it also like doesn't help enable the watchdog. So
Oh.
um, I think I would lean toward cutting the sanctuary wall. Ordinarily, with this many morphs, I'd probably say cut a morph, but with four sentries, I like having a bunch of them. And it looks like because you have a lot of like high toughness creatures, I think even though you're not going to be like triggering Watchdog on turn 4 very much, I do think that your creatures are going to be pretty sticky, and so like the Watchdog will turn
What does
on, and it's
sticky?
been pretty good for me. So I think my inclination would be just like that pretty minor swap. I guess there's also the Defenestrated Phantom, which is a pretty bad card, but does like the fact that it's cheaper to flip, and then evasion means that it's like gets more value out of the counters from the sentry. Whereas like there's kind of diminishing returns on making your huge thing a little bit huger. So I could see a pretty reasonable case for Phantom over Second Hellion. I think that it's a very low impact change one way or another, but I guess I might mix it up there with like one Hellion and one Phantom.
Do you think it might have been better to just put the Phantom in mainly because I could cast it both face up and face down easier? Because it
Sorry,
is
which card?
the Defenestrated Phantom.
Which card are you comparing it to? Sorry.
Oh, the Hellion. The second Hellion.
Right. Okay. I think that like because of like counters are so much better with keywords, and like bigger numbers are like the sentry is just so much more impactful with the Phantom than the Hellion, both because of like flying and because of the lower cost to flip. So like I think I like Hellion more than Phantom in general, but not in a deck with 4 sentries.
You like it just as much?
Um, I think it's very close.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I mean, I don't think that I don't think there's a big difference between the two builds. Of course, I think it's changing around a couple cards that are very similar quality. So clicking on the games, was there a particular game that you wanted to start with?
There was just one part of one game, which is the game number 3.
Game 3, okay.
Yeah. Where like I just had a bunch of sentries in hand, and if you keep going, they eventually put out a 2/4 flying.
Let's just start watching the game for context on what's happening.
Okay.
Just go. Whoa. That.
So it's pretty early on. It's like turn 3 that it comes out.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, that like got weird. It like didn't do anything and jumped ahead. Let's try it again. Okay, this is better. So far, this all looks automatic, of course. The first note is on turn 3, it might have been free to attack with a sentry before playing the second sentry. Like there's a chance that they don't block because they're afraid of a trick, and since you're playing another 1/3 and they have a 1/3, you don't give any damage up by like attacking with your creature.
I guess I just thought that like if I'm not going to get through, it's bad to have a tapped creature, even if they were to hit back,
Right. I mean, so I guess like you can think about it in terms of the expected damage that each player is taking, where I think that a vast majority of the time they're going to take 0 damage and you're going to take 0 damage. And then like, is it more likely that they like are scared for some reason and don't block? Like they think, oh, if you're making this attack, maybe you have an airtight alibi, and I don't want to lose my creature and give you a 3/5. And it's only 1 life, so who cares? So I'll just take the damage. Or is it more likely that they're going to play a removal spell on your untapped sentry and hit you for 1, which at this point, the removal spells that they could play that would do that are probably exactly Makeshift Binding. And like, are you unhappy if their turn 3 is Makeshift Binding your 1/3 hit you for 1? Um, so to me, it feels like there's very, very little upside to the attack, but I think even less downside. So
Oh,
I don't think it matters, but I like to take low risk attacks whenever possible. It's fun to get some free
okay.
damage.
Okay, okay. Just so you know, I play like a huge coward, okay?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess there's like conservative play where you're playing around something, and cowardly play where you're just like not taking opportunities you should. And it's
Yes.
important, I guess, to like know which one you're doing and why. Um, and like playing conservatively, like is good if you know what you're playing around, but playing like passively where you're just like afraid of the unknown, I think it's useful to like be able to put words to exactly like, oh, all right, I'm not doing this. Why am I not doing this? What's the thing that I'm playing around?
Hmm.
And if there's not like a realistic concern, then maybe don't play around it. There will be times, I suspect, if you try to make this adjustment, where your instinct is like to play scared, and then you're like, oh, I don't know what I should be playing around. And then you get punished because your instinct was right that intuitively, oh, it feels like something could go wrong here, and you didn't happen to think of what it was.
Hmm.
Um, but also, like, I would suggest that it's okay to like get punished for not thinking of things to help like build the habit of like learning which things to think about. Okay, so they get rid of that's pretty aggressive.
They didn't know I had four of
You're really not running out
them.
anytime soon.
So, at this point, there was like at some point between like now and two other turns, I felt like I wanted to like incentivize their 2-4 to attack so I could get him with the leg up. And so I think like it went on for several turns until it became detrimental. And if you start seeing that, let like just analyze that for me and tell me your comments.
Okay, so I mean, basically, my primary feedback on this game so far is like your opponent is using their removal really aggressively. Like they're removing creatures that weren't threatening them, and they're not like enabling attacks for themselves. So uh, I don't. At this point, I'm like, I don't. It looks like the opponent is not being like at all judicious with the removal, and so I'm looking to like I'm treating this player as someone who's just gonna like cast their spells. And so like I wouldn't want to expose something before like letting them just like use their stuff on whatever happens to be around. Which I don't think informs anything that's happened yet, but my like one piece of feedback, like basically the part where I disagree with anything that's happened, it's stuff your opponent's doing, and I think it's important to like note that stuff just in terms of like mm, knowing what to expect from your opponent and like what kinds of plays to like put them on.
Okay, so you're a better judge of that because you are like a master of this game at this point. But I'm not. So I thought that them
Yeah.
removing my smell essentially was actually not a bad play, but you think they weren't being judicious.
Yeah, well, I mean, what
So
did it
how do I
accomplish, right?
judge that better?
Like, I just, I don't like the. You haven't had a chance to like if you have a good creature in your hand, you haven't had a chance to play it yet, right? Like you have a bunch of cards in your hand, you've been spending your mana, and they removed like a 1/3 in a spot where you had more 1/3s, so it didn't give them any attacks, and you didn't have any like face down creatures, so it wasn't like it was gonna like give you some kind of lasting benefit. So I guess like
But opponent
If
doesn't know that. What if they think that I do have those cards in my hand, and that is the
Well, what I'm
potential
saying is they're
threat?
not in play. So what you're saying is, what if they're worried that like you're going to like play a dog walker and immediately flip it over, and because they're removal sorcery speed, you're going to get some +1/+1 counters. Um, I suppose that could happen. I guess so. What I'd be thinking is either my opponent isn't using their removal well, or if I want to give them credit, why are they doing this? Um, Clearly they value spending their mana really highly. Um, like they don't want to like because yeah, I would say they value spending their mana highly, which implies that like the rest of their hand is probably spells. Um,
Hmm.
so I would definitely be putting them on. They probably like the cards in their hands probably aren't lands, and there's a good chance they have another removal spell. Um, or like either I think they're bad, or I think that they have two more spells in their hand and one of them is a removal spell at this point.
Uh,
Um,
okay. So,
because
th-
right, because like the reason that I would want to use my removal that aggressively, like there are so few morphs where it's going to be really good for you to just play it and flip it, and like the also even in that spot, like your opponent has a lot of toughness, right? They have a bunch of like 1/3s and 2/4s. If your 1/3 reach suddenly becomes a 2/4 reach, that doesn't really change anything about the context of the game.
oh my God, yeah,
Um,
that's so true.
so like I don't know what their hurry is unless they just expect their mana to be really taxed.
Oh, okay.
So you attack with all of your things, and you've chosen Merfolk. They block the Merfolk. They eat the human. This is it, like how to play with a Killer Among Us is always interesting in terms of like, do you send all the creatures or do you just send the one you chose?
Yeah.
What's your thought process on it?
Um,
I guess your thought process, I would guess, is that you're planning to use the trick if like they block the wrong thing.
they block their own thing?
No. If they block something that you can't pump with a Killer Among Us, you can pump it with Get a Leg Up, right?
Yeah.
And so that makes it easier to attack with everything. The problem
Yeah.
is you really don't want to like use Get a Leg Up to kill their Gravestone Strider.
Uh-huh.
Um, so like I guess the issue is they have so if you attack with everything, they have like three pretty meaningless creatures. So they can like block all of your guys, and then you lose your 1/1s, and they lose one of their things to Killer Among Us, and then you have to decide if you want to use Get a Leg Up.
That's what
And I
happened.
don't think that you want to trade Get a Leg Up for any other
I
guys.
didn't.
And I think you also don't want to like trade off your useless 1/1s
I did.
while you have Get a Leg Up because they're making that card better later.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
this looks to me like a spot where I would want to attack with just the Merfolk.
Okay.
And so you end up not using the trick, eating their thing and letting their thing eat your thing, and pushing 1 damage. Um, so if you attack with just the Merfolk, then they know that it's a 4/4 death touch, or presumably, and then they get to like. There's no way that they want to kill your 4/4 death touch because they have a bunch of like low power, high toughness creatures. Where the turn that it has death touch, you would kill all of the blockers.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'd rather just like take 4 and then they could double block it on a following turn when you don't have death touch. So I think if you just attack with the Merfolk, their options are take 4 or like chump with the Maverick if they're happy to have that in the graveyard. Um, and then you sack Killer Among Us, and um, you're in a spot like what you accomplished here was basically you sacrificed your human to push 1 damage, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I would say the outcome also suggests that like the attack with the Merfolk would have gone better.
Okay.
And to the point about the fact that they aggressively used the binding suggests they have more removal. That's exactly what it was.
Okay.
Which, that arguably you could just like not sack Killer Among Us so that like they don't know which thing to use the binding on if you assume they have more removal. But like, I also don't think that them getting rid of your 4/4 is like not something I'm terribly worried about. So I'm fine with that they get it here, and like this creature is way more valuable than this creature at this point anyway. And like now that you have a 4/4, maybe they let this live, and then you'd be pretty happy about that. So I wouldn't like play around this or be sad that it happened.
I attacked and I thought about flipping this over, and then I changed my mind.
Right. Yeah, I think that them like this one's interesting where like you can flip it this turn, but you don't have the last sentry down, so like you're getting a little bit less value out of it, but also like I'm not excited about playing sentry this turn anyway. Because I'd kind of rather play the eavesdropper.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Yeah, so like I guess in a way I like the attack because if they don't block, then I kind of like flipping it over, and if they double block, I definitely like flipping it over. And if they single block, you can just be like, okay, I don't want to bother flipping this over. You got me. Go to my next main phase, and you're kind of like maybe in their head a little bit about like what it was and why you made this attack when you weren't going to flip your thing over and stuff.
Yeah. I was
so
I must be confusing opponents so much right now by doing that. It made no sense.
Yeah, but I think that this attack didn't cost you anything, and I like it from a like low downside, high upside perspective, where like maybe your opponent does something weird, maybe they just block with the investigator and you get to kill it, and nothing can go that badly for you. So I like the attack, and I like not flipping given this block. I hadn't considered the investigator. So like theoretically you could have made a play to like aggressively use get a leg up, but I don't think that would have been worth it. I think it's fine to give them the clue here.
Yeah, they were also playing like very carefully with investigators, so I wanted to like incentivize them to attack me eventually. So I could use the leg up on it.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that they didn't attack. Certainly. So you sacked the clue and drew inside source, or did you draw a land off the clue sack? Sorry. They play that. Okay, so you draw inside source. Talk to me about sacrificing the clue here.
I don't remember actually, but in hindsight, it was kind of a bad idea.
Right, my thinking is, you have a lot of life. They've been pretty passive. You have 5 mana and 5 mana worth of creatures you can play. They have 1 card in their hand. So if you don't sack the clue, you can just play both creatures and pass, and then not trigger the investigator. Whereas if you sack the clue, because you're down 2 mana and up a card in your hand, you're pretty much guaranteed to give them another clue. And like you get to attack with the 4/4, but your opponent's at 23. Like if they take it, I don't feel like you've accomplished anything. And I kind of want to just like get my stuff in play, and then I can start thinking about like my flipping the morph and your combat trick and stuff like that. And I feel like we're kind of in a stage in the game where we're just both just like putting our stuff into play, like a calm before the storm kind of stage. and I just don't want to give my opponent an extra card if I can help it here.
Okay.
So, right. Okay, so they block with everything, with a bunch of stuff, and then you don't want to spend get a leg up because you're trying to use that to kill the investigator. So you let your guy die and trade it for a 1/3? Is that
Yeah, because there was a previous game I played, I think, where like the 1/3s were becoming an issue because it could block so well, still survive. So and I've sort of had a different coaching session before where it's like get rid of the big butts because the big butts can block a lot more better and you can't get through as much.
right? So, I mean, there are certainly going to be spots where that is a thing. However, in this game, because you're about to be able to make an enormous creature, um, like any number of 1/3s are like basically irrelevant against an 8/8. Um, and then like if you get into a spot where they're like, all right, put five, like seven creatures and six creatures, whatever, like they need a lot of creatures to like even try to kill it, and then
Yeah.
you have the trick, so you would like save your guy and kill like four of their things or something. Um, so basically like because of the size of your creatures and the pace of this game, which I would describe as extremely slow since you both just have like small bigs, um uh like it's looking at what happened, it's hard to be like it is a good thing that I traded my 4 mana 3/3 for their 2 mana 1/3. um like you're not there's no reason that that favors you.
No, yeah, I
They,
told you
they
to
have
Dirty Spaghetti that move. So,
yeah. So I think that like your hand has like a lot of um like you're putting a lot of power and toughness onto the board over the next 2 or 3 turns, and your opponent only has one card in their hand. So as long as you can mitigate their Wojak Investigator, it's unlikely that their board's going to be keeping up with yours. And
oh my
so
goodness.
I don't feel pressure to like simplify the board at this point, especially because get a leg up is better the less you simplify the board, the more creatures you have.
Okay, I need a tip. How do I think about all of this all the time?
um,
I'm getting dizzy.
uh, so let's see. I guess for me, when people watch my stream, they often comment on how patient I am. Um, and I like to, I guess there are moments where I feel a lot of pressure and moments that I don't. And just like looking at, how high are the life totals, how much damage do I expect to lose on my following turn, like what kind of clock is there? And like the game as it's been playing, there's no established clock, right? No one has a persistent source of damage. Like your opponent has a 3/5 that you don't have good blocks for, except they've like demonstrated that if you have mana up for a trick, they're not going to attack with it.
Mhm.
And as soon as you flip one morph, then their 3/5 can't get over your 2/4s. Um, so like even if you might take like one or two more hits from this thing before you grow your sentries, once that happens, there's no clock. So at that point, like when I'm playing a game where there isn't a clock, at that point, um, I'm not playing a racing like life total matters game. I'm playing a value game, and my goal is just to get as much as I can out of each of my cards.
Okay.
And so that means that I never want to be in a spot where, like, this is why board stalls happen, right? When both people have small, like, creatures with low power and high toughness, the defender is always advantaged because of the existence of double blocking. And so whoever attacks ends up trading down because they get to just like put a lot of 1/3s in front of your 3/3 or 4/4, whatever you want to think of that creature as. And Magic just kind of like naturally leads to board stalls when like that's why evasion exists is the combat rules favor the defender in a way that naturally leads to board stalls when like it means that it's possible for things to get gummed up in a way that like a game with like direct attacking like Hearthstone doesn't really go that way because the attacker is advantaged basically because they get to make the decisions. And so I guess just like how to play in board stalls is kind of a structure that you can just have in place, and then it's less like you're like, oh, okay, this is a game where nothing happens, and that's cool. And then so when that board stall happens, the question becomes who has to break it or what will break it? Like, how do we get from this stage where no one can attack to a stage where somebody's winning? And if you know that your deck doesn't have anything that can like win from this state, then you might need to like go into desperation mode where you maybe try to simplify it and get to a point where you can attack or whatever. Cards that win the game in this kind of state are like huge bombs, right? Like Aurelia's Vindicator, which I believe your deck has. So you could just be like, all right, if this game just goes, like if we just sit here for 10 turns, at some point I'm going to draw a Vindicator and I'm going to flip it over and my opponent's going to lose their entire board and I'm going to attack and kill them. So unless your opponent also has a Vindicator style creature, then if we both just sit here and put our creatures into play and stare at each other, like there's a card in your deck that wins the game on the spot, and they probably don't have something like that. The best that they're likely to have is like an on the job. And if, your opponent just attacks with all their creatures in a spot where it doesn't make any sense to do that, like they draw and they suddenly send everything, you can be pretty sure that they drew on the job. And then you can, block accounting for that. And because you have so much life to work with, and there's no reason to expect your opponent to be appreciably wider than you since you have more cards in your hand than they do and like a comparable number of creatures in play, you don't really need to worry about like getting one-shotted by on the job. So like the most common like board stall breaker that I would expect my opponent to have doesn't work. So there's nothing that I need to fear. So waiting both like I think waiting in the short term favors you because of the morphs and Sumelos entries that you already have, and the fact that over the next couple turns, you're going to be putting more power and toughness into play than they are. And then waiting in the long term also favors you because you have the Vindicator to draw to. So a lot of it is just like understanding what kinds of games your deck is capable of winning. And like because of the Vindicator, you're in a spot where your deck is very like forgiving about being patient.
Okay.
Does that all make sense?
So much.
Okay. So this thing costs 5 to flip. You have 7 mana. You're attacking and planning to flip it. You could play the Sentry first. The reason not to play the Sentry first is if you think that you're going to need to both flip it over and cast Get a Leg Up. So I haven't done the math yet, but before making this attack, I would want to think about what the most likely block is if I think that they're going to try to kill my creature. And then will I need the Get a Leg Up, or will the extra +1/+1 counter be enough? Because it would be really nice to be able to like make this and this bigger if you're like flipping this over this turn, rather than needing to use the Get a Leg Up. So the first check, what if they block with everything? They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 power. So that would kill your creature. If you just go sentry, attack, they block with everything, you flip, they have 10 power on your guy, you can make it an 8/8, so your guy's dying for sure, and you would get to order their blockers such that you would probably kill the investigator first, and then you'd have 3 power left, so I would probably just put like inside source second and the morph third, so that if the morph happens to not be something that turns into something big, you get to kill it, but you're sure that you get to kill the inside source. They do have a lot of mana, so it's pretty unlikely that this thing is only a 2/2. So I don't actually love the way that this goes if they just block with everything. But what if I guess it's really hard here because they have a morph, so you don't really know how big their like total blocking size is. Which I guess means I like having the mana for get a leg up when you make this attack. What I'm not sure about is whether I like doing that this turn or next turn. Like there's an argument to just play the sentry and not attack, and then next turn you can like attack and play the thing. But also maybe the one extra trigger doesn't matter that much, and if they block with a bunch of stuff, like they get a leg up and flipping this, like you might just wrath them at the cost of like a get a leg up here. So I think both plays are reasonable, again, just because of the amount of patience I think that like your deck in this spot affords you, but I don't dislike this play. Okay, so their morph is that. So you have a 7/7 and they have 4, 5, 6. Yeah, you're gonna have to use your get a leg up here, of course. And I assume that just kills all of it. Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly not unhappy about like how that combat went. And now they do have exactly enough. Ooh, that's pretty good for them. As it happens, if you just play the other sentry and pass, then your thing is like never in range of dying to that. But I guess they could have flipped over the forest guy, and that could have been big enough to kill it with the bite down if they'd gone for it. I don't know if this is just the auto tapper getting you, but this was a really bad way to tap to
No,
play this.
yeah, it was. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah. Yep. Auto tapper can't be trusted. I would have played this entry first. It doesn't matter, your opponent's tapped out, but I just like, what if they respond to me playing this by killing the morph? Whereas if I kill the morph, if I play the sentry first, that's not an issue. Again, like in this spot, never gonna happen. But just in general, like my habit is going to be to play the sentry before playing the morph.
Yeah.
And then be careful about tapping so you can flip this over. Oh, and you end up not playing the sentry, so you can flip it this turn.
Yeah.
I think I would have played the sentry instead and flipped this next turn because I don't think you're going to want to attack with the dogs on the following turn. So I'd rather just like get this thing in play. It's like pretty close, and obviously we're annoyed that we're here. Ooh. Well, at least they're out of cards.
It worked out because then I was able to double block and then flip the things over.
Oh, wait. Okay, so. Oh, I see. You get to You get to flip this and grow these so that you can kill this. Yeah, that makes sense. it's weird. I guess this attack is weird, right? Like if you can flip this over, they're like losing this thing for nothing. I don't know what they're thinking here.
I thought they assumed it was like a 5-drop creature instead of a dog walker. Like the five, because like all the green
Yeah,
and white creatures for the most part take quite a bit of, like the green white ones take a bit to flip.
yeah, no, I mean, yes, like, well, there are just a lot that punish them here, right? Like, could be Dogwalker, could be Nervous Gardener, could be the lifelink thing, could be the Tapper thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's like th- this is not a good attack by your opponent, especially since like if they just target this with one of the Neighborhood Guardian triggers, then like if you double block, you can't kill this, and they get to kill one of your things. So like it just cost them so little to like make this attack if they want to, and they didn't do that. Trying to think about whether it's good to bite something here. And I think I like attacking first specifically because with the cloaked creatures, there's a decent chance like one of them is pretty good, and they might like block with one that doesn't matter and leave the one that does matter face down, and then post combat you can kill like the one they didn't want to get into combat.
I just passed the turn.
Right. Which are you playing around no witnesses? Is that why you didn't play the sentry?
Yeah, generally always scared of board wipes when I start putting a lot of stuff on the board.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's less reason to play around that when your opponent has no hand. And
I'm
they're
a coward.
like what was that?
I'm a coward.
Sure, sure. No, I mean like it's certainly fine to hold something back just in case. They are a deck where it would be weird for them to be playing no witnesses. Like they're just like all creatures, but I certainly don't think that you can count on them to not be playing it, particularly since like uh like they could have any card in their deck, specifically based on how they've been playing. I'm not like necessarily giving them credit for like knowing that their deck shouldn't have no witnesses. And the extra 1/3, isn't like doing a lot here. So I'm fine with being conservative there. Also, I'm fine with like not killing their like face down, because if they turn it over, then you can decide that you need to kill it. Okay, and then the trick makes the attack with everything look pretty good. Okay, I assume it's all pretty straightforward from here.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have stuff left and they don't. Um, Glint Weaver's a funny thing to hit off of that card. Yeah, so I mean, my big takeaway from this is like definitely just it looks like you felt pressure to like act and kind of like panicked to make something happen in a spot where you didn't need to be the one to make something happen.
Yeah, because the longer the game goes, from my experience, the better opponent gets instead of me getting better. So
Yeah, I mean, that's just like a confidence thing, right? Where like you just need to have enough faith. Like at some point, you'll get to the point where you have enough faith in yourself that you can just be like, all right, I'll let my opponent make a mistake. I can, trust myself to play this well or whatever. And again, early on in this match specifically, I would have like identified my opponent as a weaker player in my estimation, because I don't think they use the removal spells particularly well. And so I'd be like, okay, like let's just hang out. My opponent's gonna, like, if I just like give them time and be patient, like they're going to, throw their cards away. Or, I'll just draw my cards that trump this kind of game.
Chat, if I forever any reason end up facing Sam Black like on Arena because I get fucked up matchups, like he's gonna read me like a book. I'm so scared.
All right.
So we already spent like 45 minutes on just one gameplay. So I just for the sake of like content, is it okay if we do a draft, like a live draft?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna use the restroom and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, I'm gonna make a burrito really quick in the microwave. It takes like 2 minutes. Do you mind entertaining chat for like those 2 minutes in case I have questions?
Sure. Let me, I guess,
Here,
open your stream so that I can see the chat.
I sent you the link to my stream to make that easier. They did
Oh, okay.
crowdfund this coaching session actually.
Okay.
So it'd be nice.
Okay. So you're donating some time back to chat?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So guys, this is your golden opportunity.
Terrible. Even in a game where like this, where it's not.
All right. Hi, chat. So, yeah, if there was, I wasn't, watching chat for the previous game. I don't know if anyone has. Hi, everyone. Questions or comments on any of that, or any other questions for me. The best one card to pack one, pick one in a chaos draft. The first that comes to mind is Umezawa's Jite, I guess.
That's more like cute, right?
Well, so a chaos draft, as I understand it, is referring to just like you get a bunch of packs of random sets, and basically everyone's opening different packs and stuff. So it's kind of just like what's the best card you could possibly open from a booster pack in draft. So I don't know. That's just kind of like the biggest bomb that has been in limited. So that's the one I thought of.
Someone also asked you what you had for dinner.
What I had for dinner?
Yeah.
Beans and rice.
Yeah, guys, you should check out his YouTube and podcast. I put a link right there. Very informative shit.
All right. So, was there a particular draft that you want to look at, or?
Sorry, were you asking me a question or were you asking chat a question?
I was asking you. I didn't know if you were back or in and out still.
Oh, okay, I'm back.
Okay, great. So is there a particular draft you want to look at?
No, I wanted to do a live draft.
Oh, live draft. Okay, sure.
So, and then I'll open Arena and we can go play that. Share my screen.
Okay, I'm going to close your Twitch again.
Okay.
And watch in Discord. So I guess I'll stop sharing my screen, and if you can share yours, that'll work well. Coaching live drafts is always a little hectic because of needing to work through the timer, but that'll be fine. I guess your choice if you want to do a quick draft where we don't have to worry about the timer, or like a regular draft. Either is fine, but it's worth thinking about more than I would normally think about doing quick draft.
Actually, I was thinking of, if chat or you, just tell me what you think of this. I actually wanted to see if you could draft something and then just talk us through everything. Would that be a lot?
I mean, I could certainly do that. It feels a little bit like you're just asking me to stream, which I do all the time anyway.
I know. But it's just like, I guess like one time I asked you to like do a narrative and it didn't happen, and I was like, oh my god, he's already talking so much. There must be so much more if I ask him to do a narrative.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little bit different because, you can ask me questions like live, so it's different than just me streaming by myself. So yeah, I mean, if that's what you want, we can certainly do it that way. So I guess I should share my screen then.
Okay, someone said quick draft, so I guess I'll do that.
Okay, are you quick drafting or am I quick drafting?
I'll quick draft then if it's just gonna be a quick draft.
Okay, sounds good. I will stop streaming then, and you can do a quick draft.
Oh, it's not Murders of Karlov anymore. It's Eldring.
Oh, okay.
Poopy.
There's no quick draft for murders.
No, it's just.
Yep, you're right. There isn't.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you want to do then?
I'll just draft then, and we'll try our best.
Okay, I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
So I guess structurally, should we start with you giving your thoughts, or do you want to start with me giving my thoughts? And one way that we could do it is the pack comes up and I could just be like, here are the cards I'd be choosing between and why, you make a decision. Or we could do it the other way, where you're like, I'm thinking about these things, and then, I can respond to that or be like, yeah, that's right.
The latter.
Okay, great. So you take the lead and I'll weigh in. And if you have Arena open, I think you're not sharing your screen, or at least I'm not.
Damn it. It says I'm streaming it.
Interesting. Oh, I know what happened. Okay, this is just Discord hadn't switched to showing the right thing. I see it now. Okay. Yep. I see that it's about to start.
You know what? I'm sorry. I've changed my mind. We'll make you take the lead.
Okay, sure. You're drafting, but you want me to talk?
Yeah, I like you to talk, and then I'll interject with a question.
Okay.
Someone wanted to pack one, pick one, and miss it.
Well, that's
Hello?
a card. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, someone wanted you to pick Niv Mizzet, pack one, pick one.
Well, it's not here, so I can't. make it happen. So I mean, I assume that you're just taking the Vein Ripper here, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I mean, we can talk about how like Buried in the Garden's a nice card or whatever, but Vein Ripper's definitely on a different level.
What? Okay. Sometimes I see really cool cards like this, and then like I watch like really good players, and they go and pick something like this.
I mean, it is possible. Like, so that sounds like it would be someone who has like a very strong preference for a color combination where they just think that it's way better. They're way more comfortable drafting it or something. But like, Vein Ripper is just such a messed up card. So
Okay. Which one?
okay, I think I like. I'm very interested in playing Vein Ripper, so I like taking a black card if it's close. I think that, there's a good case that Novice Inspector is the strongest card in this pack,
Mm-hmm.
but given the desire to take a black card, I like Confession more than Murder, but I don't know that I like Confession more than Dual Leech. I think with Vein Ripper, it's close. It's really close. Dual Leech I think of as a more aggressive card. Confession I think of as a more defensive card. Vein Ripper kind of wants both because it pressures life total really well, but it's also like a crazy bomb to be able to draw into. I think that this is really like one where you could go either way. I would probably, I don't know. I legitimately, I think they're both very, very comparable here. Cards that stand out here are the black cards, and then the best non-black card is probably Gateway Express. And then, like, honestly, I wouldn't dismiss the Strider because it makes getting triple black for the Vein Ripper easier, and it like gives you flexibility. And I'm the kind of like deranged drafter who's thinking about that chalk outline I passed and wondering if I'm going to end up in that kind of space. I think that like the safe and sane approach here is to take Extracted Confession. But if you have like a preference for where you end up, it would be reasonable to take the Whipcracker or the Gateway Express or the Strider.
I think I would take Extractor Confession over the Strider.
Yeah.
Mainly because like I value removal a lot higher than most things, unless I know specifically I need to like fix.
So this, I think, is just between Murder and the Falcon. I think the Falcon's pretty good, but it puts you in another color where you could just, take another black card and cut black and get, I mean, no, I wouldn't prioritize that at this point. I think, like, Vein Ripper doesn't want you to play a lot of colors, and if you're not playing a lot of colors, I don't think Seeing the Crime is going to help your deck more than Murder or Falcon.
This wouldn't be as good as like a Strider in terms of like a triple tip thing.
No, not as good, I think.
Okay. This one, or this one?
I agree exactly that those are the options. I would lean toward the land. I think the land is going to make any deck you have better and makes it a lot easier to be black-white. I think that the Gorehound is better in a dedicated graveyard deck or dedicated like aggressive deck, and you're not really either of those things. And I don't like you could go down the chalk outline path starting here and plan to table the other one, but I prefer the flexibility that the land offers.
Also, someone said the Gorehound would help trying to like look for Vein Ripper.
Oh, sure, to find the vein. Yeah, I mean that's technically true, but like, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's like pretty low impact. Okay. I like the agent both for cutting black purposes and having random bodies that can just like sit around and then like die when you have Vein Ripper is pretty nice. I think the agent plays well with the agent's also good with the Dual Leech, because it's just like a random thing that if you give Death Touch, your opponent doesn't really want to trade with.
Would it be wrong to grab a Galvanize?
No, it wouldn't. I think that would be defensible. I like the way the draft has gone hasn't suggested that I have a good reason to believe that I specifically want to be red, and the agent is like good in your deck. So I wouldn't, but I could understand if you had like a preference for red taking the galvanized there. This pack is pretty bad. I don't think I would take the black card. I think taking either the red uncommons is fine. I don't have a strong preference between them. I think they're both not cards that, like, I'm going to take one of those cards and I'm not really going to think of myself as being red. Yeah, I'd probably take the Informant, which I don't like very much, but I don't like the rest of this either. So you could take Reconstruction because you have a good rare to get back with it. You could also take the Sanguine Savior. I think I would take the Savior. I think I like it a lot more as a card. It, like, you have the land, so you could cast it face up even if you end up not black-white. And it, like, plays pretty well with the Dual Leech.
You're right.
Probably the red-black card. It's just a much better card than the others. And then I would Toxin Analysis here for sure. And yeah. Oh, and last pick Gorehound.
This is when we have to pick a color.
Well, I mean, I think you probably take. So this is between Galvanize, Auspicious Arrival, and the 3/3, right? Because I think Galvanize is the best red card. I think Auspicious Arrival is the best white card. I don't think you want to take like Evidence Examiner. I guess you could take Escape Tunnel if you want to stay open. I don't dislike Escape Tunnel here. You already have like decent removal. I don't feel like you need the Galvanize.
I have I have 2 removal. I need more?
I mean, I don't feel like you're behind schedule on having enough removal. Like, it's not like you never want to take another removal spell in the rest of the draft, but I don't feel like I need to like increase how much I'm prioritizing it.
What's good?
What is that?
Wow.
Whoa. I didn't know that was an option. It's a strong card.
Right. Choose 2 target creatures for mirrors like a creature. Oh.
Yeah, I had no idea that was in the set, but I would take it.
Immediately.
It plays well with the Gorehound. Like, now you can potentially just like mill the Vein Ripper and put it into play on turn 3 or whatever. Like, probably won't happen, but it's like a nice dream. Ooh.
Push pull, or another one of these.
Or Onlooker.
Yeah.
I like Onlooker more than I like Agent, but I think I like Push Pull the most. It's like a good removal spell, and pulling Vein Ripper is actually very, very, very good because like you get to attack them with the like 6-power Vein Ripper and the other thing, and then when both of those die at the end of the turn, you drain them for 4. So like they basically just die if you pull Vein Ripper.
How do you feel about this card, by the way? I don't know how to feel about it.
I like it a lot, especially in spots where, you know, you have some amount of self-mill and you can like get it for free. But it also, I mean, it's just like, it's great with Dual Leech because you get all these different evasive bodies that you can give extra power to. This is clearly another push pull.
And well, I guess we'd have to grab a confession. I'm not sure what else I would grab unless I wanted to start picking a color.
Yeah, I would just take Confession here. I wonder if you're going to play Mono Black.
Yeah, me too.
I'd take the Agent for sure. I guess like there's also the Reckless Detective, but I'm happy enough with Agent in this deck that I don't feel like I want to. Like, it is a late Reckless Detective, and Reckless Detective is really good, but I kind of like the idea of being Mono Black with Vein Ripper. So I would take the Agent, but I don't know if like I would certainly not fault taking the Reckless Detective.
I'm not the biggest fan of this card, and I do like this card because of the Surveil, and it's cheap. It, you know, trades with or it helps like attack or trade with the dwarf creatures.
Yeah, I mean, 2-drops are good. I don't dislike that. I'm a little bit interested in the Gorgon's Kiss because you can just like attack with an agent and then like, finish something off. But it's also like not great. So I think I like Snoop over Orb, but it's close.
Yeah, Orb would be like better. That was something that had more collect evidence.
I think Assailant's not bad here. I'm not unhappy to play Assailant. I've liked Interrogators.
I've seen you play with it before.
Yeah. Like, I'm not... Like, mostly, the thing that I like about them in this deck is that they're, like, a nice thing to get into play with Victimize, if you can, like, mill them with a Gorehound or, you know, get them into the graveyard some other way. I prefer Onlooker to Agent still, yeah. Black is so open here. Honestly, this is like a pretty good deck for that 3/6. I don't know if that makes it playable, but like you both have a bunch of like creatures that you can reasonably sacrifice to it, and it like can push damage with Vein Ripper. Not that you think you should be building to win more when you have Vein Ripper. I would long goodbye here.
I think long goodbye. I've been told that this is bad. I don't know why though. I think it's like maybe okay even.
Yeah, it's weird. Like it's a scary card. It has horrible stats. I think that the issue is that it's just like very slow. Like it's basically like a 4-mana Phyrexian arena that also does. I would definitely take Long Goodbye. You're on Drone Smith, which I would take Long Goodbye.
Oh, I thought like whenever a creature dies, opponent target.
Oh, sure. I would take a Zoni. I'm willing to pitch a second color for that one.
Just a suggestion that you should take the Zoni. Then this becomes way better. And this might be decent, but not.
Yeah, Lazov is great, but I wouldn't bother with it given the Azoni. I think you probably just take Whipcracker here. Yeah. I would take another agent. I'm like a cryptics apologist or believer or whatever, but you have way too many things that cost 2 for that to be good in your deck.
Okay. I think a land would be good.
Yeah, I think I escaped Tunnel over Maverick here. There's like a way where you could end up like tabling the roots and chalk outline, but I don't think that there's a reason to like pursue trying to do that stuff at this point in the draft. I like the land. It like gives you outs on face up Snoop, and the surveil is valuable. And you're like not short on playables. Just another confession. Yep. See plenty of removal.
We're playing black, so that's true too. I don't really like this card. I think it takes a lot for it to be like to get going, you know?
Yeah.
Unless you're playing red, which has the goat, or red black specifically, because there's 2 cards in those colors that suspect other things.
Oh, sure, just to like save 3 mana.
Because 3 mana is a lot in the beginning.
Yeah, I've played Offender very, very little. Like I've played it like I don't know exactly once.
Like pipe people.
I think I do like pipe more than slice here because you have all these 1/1s. I guess I'd take the 3/3. It seems fine in your deck. All right, you have a bunch of random removal spells and 2 bombs.
All right, let's see here. I have to get rid of 4 cards.
I'd probably lose the informant.
How do you feel about the informant?
Uh, I'm not a fan. Um, it might be better than I give it credit for, and it's pretty cool with Slimy Dual Leech. Um, because then like if they trade with it, you get to just kill anything with the 2 damage trigger. If you like dual leech it while it's amorph and then flip it over. Um, but I think I would also lose interrogators here. Like it's your worst 6 by a lot, and you aren't really making other clues, so you're never like killing them with that thing.
Mm,
Um,
I think. mm, I don't know. Like, this is just a lot.
oh, you're thinking about cutting a removal spell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see cutting and extract, especially because you don't want to like spend a lot of your graveyard because you have like the poles and the Azoni and the victimize. So like you kind of like if creatures go to the graveyard, you kind of want to leave them there.
hmm
Um, and then I think I would either cut another confession or the scoundrel.
In a type of deck like this, how important is the creature count?
I think like 13 or 14 are both pretty reasonable creature counts here. Like obviously, a lot of your creatures are super low impact, but also, some of your creatures are super high impact where like I'm not like the times when I get worried about my creature count are when I need to like if I have cards that require creatures in play. Like if I have a lot of equipment and combat tricks, then it's really important that I have creatures. Or if I'm an aggro deck and like I can't have a hand that's just reactive and I need to be putting pressure on my opponent, then I'm worried about having a lot of creatures. With your deck, like if your opening hand is like 3 removal spells and 4 lands, you're like, cool, let's do it. I'm gonna kill their stuff and stay alive, and then at some point, if I draw a Zoni, I win the game. So I don't like creature count. Like if I had Izoni and Vein Ripper, it would be fine with me if my deck had 8 creatures in it. Because like I'm not worried about like feeling pressure to end the game quickly. Vein Ripper technically does like more creatures being around,
Yeah.
but also it's a 6/5 flyer. It can win the game by itself. So it doesn't need more creatures. It just kind of likes them.
Okay,
So
I have a
like
question.
yeah.
When I build a deck and I have like a bomb or 2, I also need to think about like never drawing them.
hmm
So if I was to like not draw these, how is the rest of my deck still going to function?
Well, um, for the most part, your game plan is going to be draw one of them. But I don't mean like just get lucky every game. What I mean is play a really long game, and between like the Gorehound and the Fairy Snoop and the Automaton and your 2 Surveil lands, like you get to see a decent number of extra cards. Um, so I think a vast majority of the time that you're winning, it's going to be you win with those, and then victimize means that like even if they answer one of them, you can potentially get it back. And like you have a bunch of like spot removal, like the pushes in addition to the goodbye and confessions and murder, so you can like answer their creatures that matter. Your agents are actually really good here because they are reasonably likely to trade up on cards because you have like the pipe to validate them. You have the dual leech to like make them kind of like relevant attackers, and they let you uh, not worry about your opponent's X1s. So basically, I think that this is a control deck fundamentally. Like it's so hard for you to actually kill your opponent without one of your rares entering play. Like you can, make a good faith effort to do some damage, and like, there will be spots where you just like play an ally assailant and kill all their blockers. but for the most part, like this is a deck where I'm planning to be very patient. I'm not going to be looking to spend my removal spells to clear blockers to like get an attack in for 2. I'm generally like not going to value like I'm not going to be paying attention to my opponent's life total. I'm going to be attacking where it's free, but I'm not going to be like trying to race in any capacity or trying to like push damage at any cost to me. And I'm going to be, any spot where I could trade creatures instead of using a removal spell, I'm gonna save the removal spell and trade the creatures. Because I just don't want my opponent to have a creature that's gonna be like, that I can't block.
So for that reason, I think lead pipe would be okay. But then someone said they didn't like the lead pipe because your mana and you are gonna use your mana in other ways rather than just move lead pipe around.
So I actually think I think mana-wise, this is actually a really good lead pipe deck. You're pretty low on morphs, and the unscrupulous agents are like the iconic small game card where both of you are just kind of like going low on resources, and your curve is really low. The push pulls are for most of the game going to function as 2 mana spells. Like all of your stuff is super cheap. I think that you're a slightly low land count deck that doesn't care a lot about your opponent's life total. You're not a low land count. You're a low creature deck that doesn't care a lot about your opponent's life total. Those are both great reasons to not play lead pipe. But I think that you're actually very unusually good at having mana for lead pipe, and also very good at having creatures that don't matter unless they have a lead pipe, and like being able to actually trade the agents and the onlooker tokens for your opponent's creatures just seems pretty valuable to me. Like I'm not a lead pipe fan in general, but I think I do like it in this deck. If you didn't play the lead pipe, what I would want to do is I would want to play that 3/6 so that you can like get extra value out of your unscrupulous agents by sacrificing them instead of by trading them off with the lead pipe.
And range of mana for this actually.
Like how many forests should you play?
Yeah.
I'd play 5. I think I'd play. I think I like 6. I think this looks pretty good to me. Wait, this is one. Sorry. Actually, it's an interesting question about whether you should just play 16 lands, because of what I was saying about how you have a bunch of mana because of like the agents, and like you have 6 drops, but it's not particularly important to cast them on turn 6. Like, if you have an Azoni that you can't play on turn 6 because you're stuck on 5 lands, that means all of your other spells are like castable, and you can just like wait and play it later. And this is a pretty reasonable 16 land deck, honestly. Like more 1-for-1s. This is, if I were playing this in paper, my plan would be 16 lands, choose draw. Because the agents are a lot better on the draw, and you don't have to worry about your opponent like getting ahead early because like you have such efficient 1-for-1s, and then you don't have to worry about like missing land drops, and this is like I would 16 lands draw with this in paper. I think I would probably 16 lands and just like hope to be on the draw on Arena. I would play the second escape tunnel. And now that I look at it, I would cut a forest for a swamp. And then I kind of like the idea of playing the 3/6 over the lead pipe, but it's hard for me to recommend a card I've never put in a deck.
Okay, well, it's a 5-drop, which I consider a little expensive, and then to activate ability, a 3 is also expensive, and also sacrificing another creature. I get to draw a card, but like this is a lot.
Yeah, it's not great, but 3/6 blocks pretty well. Like 6 is a lot of toughness in this set. But again, I have no investment in playing it. Totally fine with the pipe instead. I think pipe or like the 3/6 fill like weirdly similar roles in this deck.
Yeah.
And like basically, I just want that card to let me get more value out of my random 1/1s, and I'm fine with either card that does that.
I feel like lead pipe if I was to get it early and play it early, which is more possible because it's a 1-drop black card. I think I can get value out of it throughout the game. Whereas
Right. Also, like
later.
Because either one of them is kind of like the worst card in your deck, lead pipe's ability to just like sacrifice it and draw a card if you decide that it's not what you want is like a nice advantage.
Okay, so we have 10 minutes left, more or less.
Okay. Do you want to play a game?
Yes.
Okay.
Someone thinks 5/4 is more than they would do. It's an opinion, of course, but
yeah, I mean that's like reasonable. Like your mana is just very, very good, so I don't think it matters a whole lot. Sounds great, right?
I don't know what to think of it actually, because it's like I really only have one thing to cast, but I guess I have a surveil, which is like
you have 2 surveils.
Oh, you're right. That's fine.
Yeah, I agree. That's fine. There's some desire to just throw any creature in the graveyard to like turn on Victimize sooner, but no. You need to get a blocker down here.
Okay.
I would graveyard it.
For the Victimize?
Yeah, like I do think that matters. Like just being sure that you can cast that sometime, and like I don't want like the agent doesn't trade with their stuff, and so I don't want another thing that can't trade with their stuff. The lead pipe, of course, helps that situation. I would play the agent, yeah. Play the agent first so that your opponent doesn't know about the lead pipe when they're discarding, and then play the lead pipe.
Oh my god. I'm not gonna die.
Yeah. I mean, they would just block with the 1/3.
Yeah, I'm gonna die. Like this?
Yeah.
I just take it?
Yep.
No!
This is fine. It was clear that they had a trick. Okay, so now you can just put the pipe on the guy, and then the guy can trade for their 3/3, and then if they make their other thing fly, you can kill that if you don't want to take the damage.
No. Okay, now do I kill this one or do I kill that one?
I don't think you care about them gaining life, so I'd kill the one that's like hitting you now. If you're gonna kill something, which I would let them attack first, because you're good with the consultant. Now I would block the 3/3 with your 1/1.
Then I blow that one up. Oh wait.
Well, now see if they do something. Now kill the thing they used the trick on.
I'm dying.
Next turn you play Vein Ripper. I would not if they didn't play the land and they still had a card in their hand, I would victimize. Here I wouldn't victimize because they don't have a card in their hand. And if they like draw another like make your move or whatever to kill the Vein Ripper, I want to be able to get it back. So I just pass here. You're gonna like take some damage, and then you're gonna play a Vein Ripper, and the game's gonna be over. Ooh, that's a good card for them, but I think it's still fine. You take 4, you go to 6. Ooh, I would trade. Well, would I? The problem with trading is that it means you don't have the objects around for the Vein Ripper, but yeah, maybe it's probably better to just take it.
Take it.
Yeah, I think so. Now we're exactly stable. The other thing, so I would pass here, because you want to be able to block the inspector, because otherwise you die. This turn is dangerous. After this turn, I want to victimize just to trigger Vein Ripper to gain some life.
How do I trigger this? I like just attack with it or what? Sacrifice?
No,
it?
so
Wait.
interesting. You could attack with the agent. I guess you might as well attack with the agent. They're not going to block. Well, let's see. Yeah, if they block, I don't think you're unhappy about that, because then 2 things die and you gain 4 life and you go to 9 and you're safe. So yeah, I would attack with the agent and then I would cast Victimize, sacking the agent and getting 2 things back to go to 7.
Whoa, look at that value.
Graveyard, that's like your
Yeah.
worst non-land. I forgot that Victimize puts your cards into play tapped. You're exactly not dead, but you're dead if they play a creature. That's awkward. I would sack the lead pipe and see if you actually. I'm sorry. The correct play was leave your thing on top, sack the pipe, draw it, play it, so that you have an extra blocker on the next turn, so that you're not dead to a creature. From here, it's still sack lead pipe and hope to draw a cheap creature, but we would have had better odds if we just put one on top of our deck.
And I did.
Oh, sick.
Yay.
He has reach.
Whew, that was close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been really sad if we like drew a 3-drop.
Yep.
Huh.
I think you have to block with the Whipcracker. Probably doesn't go well. Oof. Well, more Vein Ripper triggers. I was just thinking a removal spell would be nice here. So if you cast Pull, if you pull an attack with the, what's in their graveyard? Nothing. Okay, so in your graveyard, you could get Pull or you could get a 3/2 and a 1/1, I guess, to make them discard their card. And then if you attack with everything, they block. If they chump the Vein Ripper, they take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think you're like exactly short of killing them if you pull. So it might be safer to just push their creature, but I would want to redo the math on if you get the 2-power creature instead of the 1. If you get the 3/2 and the 2/1, they might be dead no matter how they block. Because like they basically can't block, because any block that they do deals 4 to them. So they have to take 6. I think they're exactly dead if you pull. Because like they block everything except the Vein Ripper.
And it's this one.
That
and
deals
this
6,
one?
and then they take 2 from the thing they blocked with and 2 from your things that you pulled. So yeah, get the ones with 2 or more power. Yep, get those 2. And then attack with everything. And then I think that they die. Oh, if they put the Novice Inspector on the Whipcracker? Okay, they're not doing that. Okay, they died.
Oh, that was a lot of math.
All right.
Well, that was it. That was a whole hour and a half of Sam Black, everybody.
It's a very close game.
Very risky game. I think I'm going to lose the rest of the draft because, like, I can't think like that. So,
Yeah, any closing thoughts or questions?
no, I usually don't tend to have any because I'm, like, overwhelmed by everything because
Okay.
it was, like, so much information. So I'll just, like, have to review the
Okay.
recording and then I will come back around to asking you about it.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, feel free to message follow-up questions.
Okay, thank you, Sam. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out. And have a good night and good night, chat. All right,
Bye.
bye.